What if I told you the richest person in history wasn't a modern billionaire, not a tech CEO, not a king from Europe, but an African emperor who had so much gold he crashed an entire economy just by giving it away? This is the story of Mansa Musa, the richest man who ever lived. Mansa Musa was not just a king, he was a legend of gold, power, faith, and knowledge. In the early 14th century, when much of Europe was struggling through poverty and political instability, a great empire was rising in West Africa. This was the Mali Empire, one of the richest and most powerful kingdoms the world had ever seen. And at its center stood a man whose wealth became the subject of global astonishment, Mansa Musa. Born into a royal family, Musa did not originally expect to become king. According to historical accounts, the previous ruler, Abu Bakr II, was fascinated by exploration. He reportedly sailed west into the Atlantic Ocean with a massive fleet, curious about what lay beyond the horizon. He never returned. With the throne suddenly empty, Musa, a deputy ruler at the time, was crowned emperor in 1312. From the moment he took power, Musa proved he was not only capable but visionary. The Mali Empire was already wealthy due to its control of major trade routes across the Sahara Desert. Gold from West Africa flowed north into Europe and the Middle East. Salt, an extremely valuable resource at the time, moved south into African markets. Under Musa's leadership, this trade expanded even further. But wealth alone did not define him. Musa was deeply religious and devoted to Islam. He believed leadership was a responsibility given by God. He focused on justice, education, and strengthening Islamic scholarship within his empire. Yet it was one single journey that would make his name echo across continents, his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324. The journey began like no other in history. Imagine a caravan stretching for miles across the desert. Thousands of attendants walked beside their emperor. Soldiers carried golden staffs. Slaves marched in orderly lines. Camels, hundreds of them, were loaded with bags of pure gold dust. Some historians say each camel carried over 300 pounds of gold. Musa wanted his pilgrimage to honor God, but he also wanted to show the strength and prosperity of Mali. As the caravan passed through cities like Cairo and Egypt, crowds gathered in disbelief. People had never seen such wealth in motion. Musa did something extraordinary. He gave gold freely to the poor, to merchants, to leaders, and to anyone in need. His generosity was overwhelming. But there was an unexpected consequence. The amount of gold he distributed was so massive that it disrupted local economies. In Cairo, the sudden flood of gold caused inflation. The value of gold dropped and the economy struggled for years afterward. It is one of the few moments in history where a single individual's spending affected an entire region's financial stability. News of the Golden Emperor spread rapidly. Maps created in Europe began to include Mali, and artists illustrated Musa holding a golden orb in his hand, symbolizing unimaginable wealth. For many Europeans, this was their first awareness of a powerful African empire. Yet Musa's greatest achievement was not his wealth, it was what he built after returning home. When he completed Hajj and traveled back to Mali, he did not return alone. He brought scholars, architects, and teachers from across the Islamic world. He invested heavily in education and architecture. In the legendary city of Timbuktu, he built magnificent mosques and learning centers. Timbuktu soon became one of the most important intellectual centers in the world. The Sankor Mosque was transformed into a university where thousands of students studied law, astronomy, mathematics, and theology. Books became more valuable than gold in the city's markets. Scholars traveled from North Africa and the Middle East to teach and learn there. Under Mansa Musa, Mali became more than a trade empire. It became a culture, faith, and knowledge. He strengthened diplomatic ties with other Muslim rulers and positioned Mali as a respected power. His reign brought stability, prosperity, and global recognition. For 25 years, he ruled wisely. However, like all great rulers, his life eventually came to an end around 1337. After his death, the empire slowly began to weaken due to internal struggles and external pressures, but the legend of Mansa Musa never faded. Today, historians often call him the richest man in history. Some estimates suggest that if converted to modern value, his wealth would surpass hundreds of billions of dollars. But perhaps that measurement misses the point. His true legacy lies not only in gold, but in knowledge. In a time when much of the world underestimated Africa, Mansa Musa showed that African civilizations were organized, educated, wealthy, and globally connected. His pilgrimage changed economies, his leadership transformed cities, his vision turned Timbuktu into a beacon of learning. Mansa Musa's story reminds us that greatness is not just about wealth, it is about what you do with it. Power can build, inspire, and educate when guided by wisdom. And so, centuries later, the name Mansa Musa still shines like gold across the pages of history. The Golden King of Mali, whose footsteps across the desert left marks on the world forever.